What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Ohio River History and another episode of Thirsty Thursday. And this week is a little different. I'm going to have on our good friend Buckleboy here in just a few minutes as we're going to talk about his book, and we're going to hopefully, and I'm going to hopefully entice anybody that if you were thinking about buying the book, if it was on your to-do list to get this book, I'm going to give you some extra incentive to do so. Anybody tonight that does purchase the book during this stream, I will be paying for your shipping and help get that out to you. So that'll be almost a 10% cost savings if you were to want the book. And also at the end of the day, we are going to give away a copy of the book as well. As my thanks to you guys for coming in here and supporting me. That is the way it is, the way it's always been around here. We try to do for one another, and we promote each other in the community, and we show those folks love because they're very important. It's very important to have a community. I'm going to go really fast. I'm going to go through some chat here. That's why I started a few minutes early today, so that I could get through some of these hellos, so that I could spend my time getting to know Mr. Plummer. So early on today, Brian was in early. Brian signed up for my membership program today. Brian, thank you. You know how much I appreciate that. I try to do as much as possible for my members. Next year is going to be different and even better. A lot of my content is going to be for members, period. Torchy was in the chat early. Welcome. Old Pelon as well. Thank you. Keegan was here early. Silver Wishes, thank you so much. My Muddy Mess, Miss Ann. Mainly Dirt Fishing is in the chat. Mr. Rob, thank you for coming in tonight. I appreciate you, brother. Very much so. Papa Rouse, what's going on, dude? MD Cash, what's happening? Thank you. Looking through here. And yeah, if you've been a member for a while, throw those out there. Throw your how many months you've been in the program, because you guys keep me going and keep me motivated. I love it. The man of the hour, there's Buckleboy right there hanging out in the chat early. Thank you so much. We're going to go down a little bit further. Important people in this community, the Iron Antler family, James and Risha are very important to me. I appreciate them being here. Mr. Kevin Hawthorne, longtime subscriber. I appreciate you. Miss Ann, My Muddy Mess, thank you so much. Thank you. Also tonight, I'm going to incentivize you folks. If you got things that you want to know from Mr. Plummer when we get talking, aka the Buckleboy, please ask the questions. Tag me in those so that we can do a really good job of exploring this man's expertise. This is a benefit tonight. When you get somebody that's put time and effort into a book, use that for your own, use that for your game. Ficus and Toast, welcome. There it is, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Johnny Small Pepper, another instrumental piece in my community. JSP is the best. Our good friend King Rick, hashtag Team Rick. And then there is Miss Angie right behind there. Hello, you troll. Yeah, whatever. Going to get through here a little bit. Mark the Senile Detectorist. Yes, sir. Make sure you guys get them questions lined up. Real Tom Kingery, thank you for getting that fixed. Cubot, what's going on, Suzanne? Thank you so much. Happy Bears in the house. Thank you. Ron E, welcome. Thank you. There you go. Tom Kingery, 33 months. Papa Rouse, 43 months. Love you guys. You're amazing. Riddles Relics is in the house. Somebody said that Randy was a good boy this year and got a nice present for Christmas, aka what we're going to be talking about today. Let me get a little faster here. Little Penny, welcome. Angie, thank you so much, Angie. You know I appreciate you. If you guys hear me beating on Angie, it's pure love. Pure love. Let's see, going down here, getting to the bottom. Owen Borden, welcome. 5 Mile, what's up, bro? Thank you. Miss Amanda, just chilling. Much love. All you guys. Marty, Digging with Marty. Thank you. Thank you. Getting a little faster. I'm going to get to the bottom here. Thank you, Randy. Randy donated 5 memberships. If you were one of the lucky people that was granted one of those, first Thursday of the month is always special. It's always special and always a good time. I think I've gotten through most everybody's chat that has been in here. Like I said, be sure to, if you have a question, please, if something inspires you to ask a question, interaction is what I look for within the chat. Please throw something out there, because we definitely want to talk about it. Snowman Multimedia checking in, Mr. Brian. He has got one of the most intricate sports networks for somebody on YouTube. He's got a whole regime of folks. It's really cool how he does his business. You may not be a sports fan, but you'll like how he puts together his content. Getting through here, and I think we're at the bottom. So this has been a long time in the coming. Mr. Buckleboy has been a part of my metal detecting adventure since probably, I want to say 2017 on the Instagram side. We were talking a little bit about it before we get going, and has always just been keen on identification. The man has his own ID group. He's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this book, and it's a masterpiece. I've been going through it as I go to find parts that I'm interested in, but we're going to have a chat for a little while. Like I said, ramp up your questions after what you hear. Sometime today, I'm going to drop a keyword out there for a giveaway, and I'm going to be dropping this bad boy out in the mail to somebody in this chat. Only rules of the deal is that you must be a public subscriber and you must be present to win. You can't check out and come back later. The back of this book, this thing is so well made, so well put together. It is a great read. I haven't gotten through all of it, but I want you guys to know that it's well worth anything that you decide you want to put into it. But without further ado, Mr. William Plummer, aka the Buckleboy.
Hey everybody, glad to be here.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time coming. You know, the first thing that I did want to ask you is that, and we were just recently talking about it just a little bit. I never saw you for the longest time. So you were a camera recluse for a long time, right?
Yeah, I still kind of am, but I feel like I have to do more than that now that the book is out. And I may go back to being a camera recluse, once the book is sold out. So we'll see how that all turns out.
So meaning like the book's selling out. So is there the possibility of a second run when these are all gone, or is this it?
I don't know. I'll have that dialogue at some point with the publisher and kind of see what we think. And also I'll see what my wife and I think, because our life has been kind of turned upside down with packing up books and storing and mailing books. So it's also been a bit of a sacrifice for us to get all of that done. We're not equipped to be a business. We just, we're just a couple and we've kind of been thrown into it, but it's been good.
So if people don't quite get it, writing a book and getting a book published it's not an easy task. It's more work on your part than what you might ever think. It's not like just putting it all together and sending everything to a company and having it done, and then orders come in and you get checks. It doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of time and effort. I mean, let's face it, we all have our favorite relics, and we have our relics that are not our favorites, or things that we don't know as much about. I mean, I think, one of the things that I always noticed is I would always just say it's horse tack. If I saw a buckle or something, or a snap or a stud or a piece that I didn't know what it was, I would always just like toss it in the bin and say that's horse tack. But then once you're writing a book, you're like, well, crap, I have to figure out what all of these things are, everything that we called horse tack, because then it's like you have to learn so much that you can be if not an expert, at least very knowledgeable about everything, including the things that you didn't really find all that interesting, before. So there's a lot of time spent with that, and it's like eating your medicine. It's like, but you gradually come to appreciate those things. As the more you do that work that's needed for the book.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. I love everybody here, and you guys know that. But I'm here to extract information today. I'm here to get some insight, a little deeper insight to some of the things that I covet and love. So you guys are going to have to bear with me for a second. So one of the things that I'm very most intrigued with is buttons. Not only buttons, the production, and then how many of them survived over the years after people immigrated to the country. And but I guess where my confusion starts to set in is, let's stay in the early 1800s for just a second. The one piece button that we find in all the farm fields everywhere we go, and all the old things. A lot of those you find, they were made overseas because of spellings of words like color and stuff like that. Um, when did button manufacturing, and which companies were the first big major manufacturers in the United States? Because I know through the 1830s and so a lot of our buttons still came from England. Uh,
They did,
Even our
yeah.
military.
Yeah, they did. Up until, well, really, you think about the fact that the copper mines in this country didn't even happen until what, the 1820s or 1830s in Michigan. So it's like we didn't even have access to the raw materials, and even later on silver, because we didn't have any silver mines until Carson City and the Comstock lode. So that's just kind of like, that puts a lot of things in perspective in terms of what we were able to do. For copper coins, even most of the early copper coins in this country, those were made out of basically melted down ship boilers and items that were imported. So it's like a lot of that copper had its origin elsewhere too, which is kind of fascinating. But in terms of buttons, a lot of the button manufacturing was indeed, aside from pewter buttons that were cast on site, a lot of the button manufacturing was overseas. A lot of it in England, and we had a lively trade, back when we were colonies with England, in terms of them selling goods to us at whatever price. And then even after the American Revolution, with Jay's Treaty, a lot of that stuff started back. A lot of that trading and a lot of people, colonists in the time, didn't like Jay's Treaty, which basically opened up trade with England again after the Revolution, and so that continued, on through the War of 1812 and later. And so the button manufacturing in the United States didn't really start until, in any quantity, until up in the Northeast, in Connecticut and places like that, into the 1820s, 1830s.
So there wasn't a lot of years of there really wasn't a lot of years of flat button production in the United States, because everything went to two piece in the 1840s and 50s, I guess, somewhere right around there. It's when it really
Yeah.
started to flip over to that way. So
Yeah, we were making them here, but they weren't in any quantity, it seems like, compared to the quantity that was imported at the time.
yeah, so one of the things that I like most about the whole idea of relics is it's not where it came from, it's how it ended up where it ended up. Um, I had and I talk about it, a lot. It's one of my favorite relics, but it's an iron skeleton key that the inside of the handle was worn so thin from being on a ring for so many years, and I know exactly, where it came from, because who owned the house and was actually a War of 1812 Revolutionary War veteran. His name was George Buchanan,
Wow.
that had been moved out here by the U.S. government to take on Indians. Right. So I got a couple. So I know where it came from. I actually got the lock from the door of the original house too, because
Fantastic.
and you want to talk about something. But the thing was, when I started to try to identify it, it kept taking me back to the late early 1700s. And then I learned through research that a lot of times when people moved in and out of houses, or if they did move, they took the locks off the door with them, because the metal goods were so hard to come by and get, that when you left a place or whatnot, you took that stuff with you. So the locks actually came over from England in the 1700s at some point. So I got the key and I got the lock, and it's still my favorite because I know who owned it, I know where it came from, and I know how old it is. But I found it, in front of a house that's still standing, a stone house. So therefore, I kind of it brings it to life, right? History is what drives my whole interest in the hobby. What drove it? How did you get into metal detecting first and foremost?
Well, I was a coin collector as a kid. As a very young kid, I was just fascinated by the past, and I understood. I remember at a pretty early age, from telling stories with the family and everything like that, how to think about the past, and so when I got to meet my mentor in the hobby, who the book is dedicated to, um, the parenting I think was a little different. Like in the '80s and early '90s, it seemed. They would just let me go off in the woods, with this guy all day on the weekends, and we dig up Civil War relics, But it was, I mean, the guy was really like a father figure to me, and so once I met him, and I saw all of his shoe boxes full of excavated coins, and silver coins and gold jewelry and stuff, I was just like blown away by it. And he had started metal detecting in 1969. So he was one of those guys that was, out on the Civil War battlefields first, digging cool stuff every time. And so, that really kind of changed my mind. I very quickly became instead of a coin hunter, I became, more open to the Civil War items because of the stories that he would tell. And he was really like an encyclopedia with his knowledge, especially for like our local county and the surrounding counties where I grew up. So he could say, the troops came down this road on this day, and somebody stopped here and probably sat on this rock and lost this, because they were so tired because they'd marched, 38 miles that day or whatever. And it was amazing, those types of stories. So I completely, I think that's a shared background here, between us in terms of the motivation for the hobby.
Yeah, I love the fact that somebody was just passing on their knowledge. That's a great way. That was a great way we learned when we were kids. It's not so much now because I think Google has dominated how our kids learn. Patrick, yeah, the old Royer factory in Madison. I will show it at some point, but I got buttons from there and how they used to carve buttons out of the oyster shells. So keep it in mind one of the streams and ask again, and I'll break that out of my collection for you guys to see. But yeah, I got a bunch of that stuff too. Yeah, so you getting into the book, you found metal detecting as very young. The places that you hunt, there's a lot of stuff on the surface, so I'm assuming that weather dictates that. Um, Not to get into too much detail about your main stomping grounds, but kind of generalize what those areas are. I know they look like they're fields, farm fields now, but what was a lot of that back in the day, and why is there so much stuff there?
A lot of them were plantations back in the day, and people think of a plantation and they think of a lot of things. I mean, it's kind of a loaded term too, but it's it wasn't just one big opulent home. It was all the houses, the quarter houses, all of the sheds, all of the barns, all of the workhouses, the overseer's house. It was sometimes also sculpted gardens or manicured lawns. Various buildings and sugar mill or cotton gin or whatever other work buildings were on the property. Probably also a stable or a barn to house 100 mules to till the soil. So there were a lot of different buildings associated with these complexes, and in most cases, almost all of them are gone now, and so the only thing that's left is just open fields.
I gotcha. Randy says, with your book, I was able to identify a couple pieces that I thought were just like picture class, but found out that they were corset clips. There you go. That is the intent of this book. It is to help us as treasure hunters, give us another means of figuring out what things is other than the internet. And when you can go through a book and learn how to identify, it's a lot better than just scanning pictures on Google. You get knowledge with that. So, Randy, thanks for the post, and that's another pat on the back for Mr. Buckleboy here.
Yeah,
So,
thanks so much.
So here's the deal, folks. So at the end of the day today, I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm only going to put it in the chat one time. If you're not here now, then you may not be. You need to hang out. But I'm going to put it in there, and this is going to be the one time. Like I said, one opportunity. I'm not going to ask again. So if you're interested in receiving a copy of Mr. Plummer's book about relic identification, you're just going to type in the chat what you see right now. That is going to be it. I'm going to limit, and sorry for those of you that are on vertical, I'm going to limit that chat to the horizontal side. So because the other is going to filter through a lot of people, but you must be a public subscriber. So keep that in mind. There you go. That will be sometime here before the end of the night, probably within the next half an hour or so. You know, the idea to create a book and do something for the community, which is noble, right? It's a good thing to want to. Metal detectorists back and when I was first starting out, and then that's the difference between then and now. We're very secretive, quiet, introverted people that stayed to themselves, didn't share, didn't talk. Now we got groups that come together to get better. What was the first inkling that you decided that you want to make a book? Why did what and how did it come about in your head?
Well, first off, I'm still kind of that person. I wouldn't say secretive, but just like, introspective. I mean, that's really what the hobby is for me. It's like it's a chance to unwind, to relax, to have quiet and peacefulness and nature. So a lot of those things are kind of, they're opposite and contrary to, a lot of intense interaction with the community because, then you have to be a public face, you have to be a figure, you have to interact, you're visible and all of that. So I think in a lot of ways, I'm still kind of that type of person on the inside. But I also feel like the book is kind of a labor of love because the amount of time and effort and energy. I mean, this is 4 years of work, and it's been, there've been times of easygoing work and times of really frustrating, difficult work to try to find answers to things. And the good news is that there are things, it puts all of well, the vast majority of our learning in this hobby, in a general sense, in one place. There are books that are dedicated to Civil War relics that are really good. There's specific books about buttons, Tice's book, Albert's book. So for those things, I made just kind of general comments because we already have really good books out there. So, how am I going to write a book that's better than Tice on buttons of the Civil War? No. But I'm going to write a book that covers everything, the vast majority of what you would ever dig in North America. And then all of that information is going to be in one place. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because we didn't have these books. My mentor, and I were, if he didn't know what it was and I didn't know what it was, then it just went into a box. And the story of it was never, ever told or revealed. And so, in those pre-internet days, it would have been impossible to write a book like this because you would have had access to the people who collect China dolls, the people who collect marbles, the people who collect trade weights. And, you can just reach out now. It's so much easier to find the answers to things that you wanted to know. So I felt like I wanted to write a book for our hobby that was the type of book that I wish I'd had when I started the hobby back in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, so you started really young, and that's really cool. What was when you first? I mean, I know you were probably since you were mentored by somebody else. What was your first good purchase of a metal detector, and then lead that into what do you like to use today? What brand or where your affiliations lie? How did that work out?
Well, my mentor and I would talk about, metal detectors. He used compass detectors back in the day, with an analog meter. So he would sweep over it and the meter would go over, and I used some of those in the early days, out digging with him before I bought a machine because he had a couple of old compass detectors. And so he just kept saying, this Fisher 1266, I think it's probably a pretty good machine. So I got one, and indeed, it was really noisy and really sensitive, but that's for some point something megahertz. I mean, that was a deep detector for big iron, for cannonballs, shell fragments, for buckles and plates. So that was a good relic machine for its day. So that's really what got me started, and I think I bought that machine in 1991.
Wow. Yeah. So, the one thing I know about Fisher machines going through my time is it seems like some brand of metal detectors, and you just kind of hit on it there a little bit. Some brands I found when I was out with it, I found a lot of nickels with the Fisher. It seemed like it was a nickel magnet. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what made a nickel signal stand out so much with the Fisher back then. A little different than what they are now, but some machines were really good. And so I guess I would call that a relic signal, right? Somewhere down in that
Mm-hmm.
range. Um, it's just such an interesting hobby. How did you where did you get, I mean, and I know you're in your area, but how did you get into research and history, and how did you learn to find new places to go metal detect? I mean, I know everybody's got their favorite map sites and how they read and research. What do you do?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I do think that I mean, the hobby is a hobby of diminishing returns, right? So the stuff that's in the ground is limited. And that being said, like, there's still amazing finds made every week, every day, and so forth, and there will be for the foreseeable future. But I do think that our hobby is always changing, and I think that the idea of, like, even digging a hut in a Civil War site, that's not an original idea from the 50s or 60s back in those days, so much as it is later on. So there's the idea of map overlays and so forth. I started using map overlays, I guess, in the mid 2000s, and one of the things that I started to notice after a while was that people had already been to the spots that were on the maps. So I just decided that I didn't want to hit spots that other people had hit, and that I would have to find a better method for locating those. So I just want to say, we live in an age, I think, of where it's easy to get lazy, and by lazy I mean the detectors, the advancements in detectors seem to give us every reason to not dig a signal, because they want us to be able to discern whether it's a diggable signal or not a diggable signal. Where, well, an iron key is a diggable signal. We were talking earlier before the show about it, and I think um, there's a certain amount of, and I don't want to say it just makes it easier to be lazier. I'm not saying that we're lazy, but it just makes it easier to be lazy. The internet, by its very nature, makes it easier to be lazy in this hobby, because you have the impression that you can just search anything and you can find a site on Google. Well, I think, as an armchair treasure hunter searching on Google, wearing down the keyboard with your fingers, I think you're going to find that the spots that are out there that are already you have access to because something's been digitized are the spots that everybody's been to, or that
Right.
at least other people have seen. And so I would urge people to dig deeper than that. And I would just say, whatever that means in your local area, if that means talking to people who've been around a very long time and recording oral histories, that's great, because then you're not just relying on something that you heard. You're able to go back through it later on and kind of take details out of it. Looking at records that have not been digitized, spending time in your courthouse and your local library. I mean, this is the type of work that yields really good sites. And then I also think, not discounting the boots on the ground approach, because a lot of the sites that are easy to find, that the signs are obvious, likewise people have found before. So if you want to really find spots that have not been hunted to death, you really need to be okay with spending time out on the ground, and okay with maybe not finding anything that day, because that's the way it goes when you're out scouting. So I would just say that in terms of finding spots, that the armchair research thing is not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, it's a really good generalized approach to find what's been put on the internet, right? Uh, the one thing I did notice is that if you pay a close attention and you get into the hobby as much as like maybe I have, just for example, the area that I dig, a local lady in the 1940s decided to write a book, and she went around the county and she got with a bunch of different people around the county and told stories of their childhood, where they played, what they did, what it was like early in life in here. And in that book, nobody knows about, and I don't think it hardly sold any copies, but it's like a treasure map. It leads us to, it led us to all kinds of stuff. And that's, and most of my major good finds came from reading chapters in that book and starting with the person who wrote it, where they were from exactly, and then going out and hiking down to the creek to find out where the old swimming hole was. That's where a lot of stuff that, and you know what, a lot of that stuff I'd never put on the internet. I never put on
Mhm.
YouTube, because that was stuff that was like, I don't know, it felt like mine, right? It felt like something personal, and that was the stuff that I didn't want to share. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't want to share. So that's a good method. And you're right, just talking to people, uh and then putting your feet on the ground. You know, you may start looking for a house that you see on an 1880s map, and you may wander back in the field and find an iron patch. And guess what? There's an undocumented home that was back there in the 1830s when nobody was making maps. So,
Exactly.
so I get that. But yeah, those are all excellent. Do you like the use of lidar? Does that come in handy for you?
It's not so useful down here. Because everything's been so terraformed down here from years of silt and rain wash and everything. It's not as good of a tool, but I know that people use it a lot, and that seems to be like the hot thing right now in a lot of areas, to find sites.
It's really
Uh,
good for wooded areas for sure.
yeah, yeah.
With the over with the under so you can see through the trees. I mean, that's the thing. Just so everybody knows, one of our channel members did decide to donate a second book tonight. So there
Woohoo!
will be two of them that are donated, or there'll be one out of the chat tonight, and that'll be one more set out there. So that'll be $2 tonight, or two books tonight. So I got one that's going out, and we'll have to order another one here for Mr. Plummer. And then as soon as, but if anybody, before we go any further into tonight, why don't you put your information out there if somebody wants to order a book, how they're going to go about doing it, and so that everybody knows, and that we can monitor that to find out how much money you guys can make me pay in shipping.
Well, I did send you a QR code on Facebook Messenger. I don't know if you have access to that fairly easily, but that
Sure,
could be a graphic that you could share. It'd be a nice, easy way for people to be able to screenshot that, or and then we could kind of monitor that,
sure.
because that would route everything through PayPal.
So, like I said, tonight, we're gonna go. The stream will end sometime just after 10, more than likely. Anything that is ordered by 10:30, uh, I'm taking care of anybody's shipping on this deal. Let me see if I can get this up right now.
And while you're doing that, I just wanted to say to your viewers, I would challenge people to find an old newspaper that was out of their town or out of a nearby town, to go into to go take that into go see that on microfilm, and just pick a random year, in the 1800s or early 1900s, and do some reading there. Yeah, if you could enlarge that, maybe if you can click that to enlarge it. But at any rate, uh, there we go. So yeah, and if people were to go, like, just choose a random year and just start reading an old newspaper on microfilm that's not been digitized or put on the internet, everything is gonna scream sights to you. I mean, you can't do that without thinking, oh my gosh, there was a house there was a swimming hole there was a path or a trail or a stopping point or a meeting ground or a fairground or something, a church picnic area or picnic grove. I mean, there's so much stuff in those old newspapers. I would just challenge people to do that, and they'll find that if they can find any of those spots, then their hunting is going to really increase.
I really think that just telling people that, because there's a lot of detectorists in here, and then there's a lot of people that like to watch metal detecting on YouTube in here as well. I think the thing is that we just can't be sheep. We got to start thinking outside the box, because he's absolutely correct that yeah, that's Eastern time, being but it's one of those things that these plentiful sites are not going to be here forever, and we've got to find new places to dig. I'm sure everybody in their area runs into a stale time period, and they have to go back to the old faithfuls to dig stuff up, because they're not getting into new sites. So thinking outside the box is real important for this, especially going forward, especially in this country that doesn't have the long heritage like England has, of thousands of years of people bringing gold hoards and stuff through there. It makes me sick just thinking about how much good stuff they get to find. I'm going to
Yeah.
leave the QR code up for a little while, so I'm definitely challenging you guys. Hit me up. This is my Christmas gift to you guys, so, or at least one of them. I got more stuff on Christmas, but that's another story. I got all the shipping tonight, so if you order a book from Mr. William here, he's going to tell me at the end of the night, and I'm going to send him over some money for shipping. So please take advantage of it. It's a pretty nice discount from considering the cost of the book. So please, please, please,
Yeah, I guess
Johnny,
we
thank
should
you for
tell them how much
donating.
the book is.
What's that?
I guess we should tell them how much the book is.
I believe it's $78, correct?
Yeah, it's $79 per copy. So if you all want to purchase one, the shipping on it's $10. So thanks, Shane, for being willing to do that. That's a really cool partnership there, and really great for your channel members and viewers.
Yeah, so be sure to hit him up. We're going to leave it up as we talk a little bit. I might drop it and bring it back up again here in a little while, because I would rather kind of have a full screen look and get to see how somebody says when they talk. So anyway, if you haven't scanned it yet, I'm going to drop it down for a little while, and we'll put it back up here in a bit. So that is, well, I mean, I'm kind of skipping ahead here a little bit, but after just having that conversation, what do you think the future of metal detecting really holds for people in the United States? What's going to be the next thing, right? Because everybody's doing a pretty good job of research. We're finding a lot of places to dig. What from our recent past might be important in the future? Where's the hobby headed? What's it going to be?
Well, I think we probably are reaching a threshold with detector capability and technology. and I I say this as a person who's not a representative, and I don't sell detectors, but just what I've noticed is it seems like that pace is slowing down, and the pace slows down, with any technology, right? It's like you put a lot of energy and money and finance into, gaining just a little bit of performance or a little bit of depth or a little bit of whatever. So I feel like that pace kind of slows down naturally with any sort of development, as a human being, be it science or technology. But also I think that probably one of the ways that we'll compensate for that is not only by finding spots that don't have much of a record, either written or certainly digitized. Awesome, Jersey Ray. Wow, wow. But I also think that part of the future of the hobby will be actually literally moving dirt on old sites, because honestly, one of the things I've learned down here is that the vast majority of what is there to find, you don't ever find. And that's not because I don't have a capable detector. That's not because, but that's just learning from the soil that's been plowed many, many times now, 3, 4, 5 plow cycles. And I really think that the future of the hobby will be moving dirt on old sites to make them give up new things.
Yeah, I'll use an example. My friend Brian B. Higgles, we were down there digging they drained that lake out that was that was put in from this lake was built in like the 30s, right? But went down there, we scanned through the beach. Everybody went through it for over 30 days because, it had always had water. And then there was a couple guys down there that were digging down to the clay, because guess what? You know what happens to gold and sand? It sinks, right? And sometimes things were sinking beyond our capabilities of finding them. And so they're digging out, while this lake is drained, they're digging out large portions of area, and they're finding great stuff, right? So things, if you don't have a clay base or something real hard base, things are going to get further down the heavier they are. So that's a pretty good point. I was sitting here, my brain was thinking like far into the future, like we're a place where I used to dig. There's a landfill, and I'm like wondering if that landfill is going to produce good targets, 200 years from now. I mean, what's that going to be like? I mean, it's trash now, but what's left out there? What's going to come up out of the soil? What's going to be new? I always try to think about things that I have no control over, right? It's just like ADD, I guess. But
well,
it's
I
definitely
think those voices, like we tend to have a soundtrack running, like when we dig, at least I know I do. Probably other people are similar, but I'm always thinking, should I swing more over this direction? Should I walk towards that tree? Should I come back and hit this area more? Do I need to go someplace else? And like it's weird because sometimes that inner monologue can be kind of bad for us, because sometimes I want to do a special at some point on the psychology of the hobby, because I think that's really important. It's why a lot of newbies get frustrated. It's why a lot of old folks think that they know everything. And one of the things that I've learned is that you just never learn it all. And so I think with those inner dialogues, sometimes we think, oh, I didn't find anything in the last half hour, so I got to quit, or I got to change something. And sometimes it takes more than a half an hour to figure that out. So it's kind of interesting how that dialogue, sometimes it helps us and sometimes it hurts us.
Just talking about detectorists as individuals, swing styles. The guy I did most of my digging with before he moved was Kurt, and he is hardcore looking for the silver coin. That's his jam, right? He's been through the CTX 3030 and all the old Mine Lab stuff, and he kept all those detectors, and he's always out looking for the coins. But when we go digging, especially when we would go door knocking, I'd always have the better finds for the day, because I'm not afraid to dig a scratchy signal that's close to iron. I get more holes dug, I dig more targets, and he likes to find point and just try to find the coins. So for me, going out digging with him was a blast. I get my chance on half the property first, to not miss the silver coin before he would come over, and we'd switch in the afternoons, like, so to speak. But I always dug the cool relics, right? Those were always the things that I was interested in. So but swing style is important. And I noticed that some people that are very good don't hear things the same way, especially with different types of equipment. So if you've got a Mine Lab Equinox 800 and a Nocta Legend, and you go out and dig, different things sound differently on each of those, and both of them have high points to going out digging. So if you think a spot's run stale, take a different detector out there and really listen.
Yeah, so every one that I dig with has a different machine, and I think that's really important. When you're on the same site, to just have something to compare. One of the crazy things is, depending on the amount of iron in your site, even a coin is not going to sound good. We've had coins that were even on top of the ground washed out, that none of the detectors that we had, and I mean, I won't shame the models, because it's really not shaming, because nobody could pick it up, but for everybody it was a null, because it was over top of iron that was so big that we couldn't hear it. So I think people tend to overestimate, just the same way that people overestimate the age of things. Like, all my sites from the 1800 or 1700, but it's really actually from 1850, but we just, like, because we always tend to, like, overestimate. I think the same thing's true of thinking about how good our detectors are, because we've invested the money, so we want to think that it's the best. And so I think that, it's actually, with everything that I've seen, it's a miracle that we find what we do. We walk out into vast fields and go hunting for spots that don't have hardly any record that they're wherever they are, and we hope to come across something with a little, sweeping all this acreage with, like, a little 8-inch search coil. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of ground underneath that coil, and and you know what, and you know just as well as I do that if there's any variance in your swing, you might go over that magical coin, right? I mean,
Mhm.
or that you're looking for, and then you might not focus that area as much, which could have been a hot spot. I mean, just slight deviations from a good pattern, you can get off kilter and you can miss a lot of things. That's why it's fun to hunt with somebody else, because you can kind of work together a little bit to find what you think is the honey hole of the area, and then focus on it. Um, what is your favorite thing to find? What is it that whenever you find something in the wild that it just gets you excited? Because there's so many beautiful relics in this book and so many things that you found. I want to know what kind of lights your fire a little bit.
I like to find something that I've never dug, and it could be something that's completely normal. I mean, it completely, not even. It could be something that other people have dug that's not uncommon. But if I've never dug one, that really gets me going. Any token. I just love tokens because it seems like every token I find is different. So when I get a token, I automatically know that I'm going to have fun, looking that up, researching that, figuring out what it is after the fact. So there's like an extra added level of enjoyment once I bring the find home and clean it and ID it. What really fires me up is to see something that I don't know what it is and I've never seen one. And that happens a fair amount because it's almost endless, the amount of stuff that's in the ground. So I really like when I see something like that. It really, I feel a big drive to try to figure out what it is, no matter what it is.
So when I sent you that little small slide buckle and you saw the four eagles on it, one on each corner of it, what I just curious to what your first thought was when you saw that, because I've been beating myself to death trying to figure out where that exactly came from. I mean, and the eagle kind of gets me in that 1830s range, 1850s,
Yeah.
because it's got the little bit of the turkey neck. But I,
Yep.
I I never really got your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I looking at that find. I don't know if you have a picture of it. You can flash, but um, looking at that find, it's obviously engraved in a way that it was meant to be seen. So I think it probably is not in the realm of like horse tack buckles or something like that. It's got to be something like a shoe buckle or some sort of a find that was meant to be seen, just because of the decoration on it.
Yeah, it was really strange the way the shape was, and I've got it on my phone here. I'm trying to get it over. Um, Let's see how I can do that really fast. But it was shoot, I had it. This picture here ought to do just fine. Send it to I end up sending everything back to Facebook. It's amazing.
Yep, it's so easy to do.
But the ironic part of the site is where it came from. It came from up on top of a hill above a town, and the oldest house in the area. The house was built in the 1830s, um, and not a lot of other good stuff came out of the ground. It had been trashed over the course of
Wow.
that time frame, right? So you're constantly fighting chunks of pot metal and just everything. And so, but it was one of the only real clear signals, other than an 1838 large cent that was out there, and there was just a few other things from that time period, but we couldn't find any record of military. I thought that the eagles on that might be signify something from the postal, for some reason, because I seen some eagles like on some old postal bags that look similar, and that's where I was headed with that. But it's just one that has been it's been haunting trying to figure it out, because, and I've sent it to a bunch of different people, and nobody's ever really seen it before, and that's what you hope for, right? You hope that somebody has
Yeah.
actually seen
Yeah.
something before.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can figure out a fair amount of just general stuff just by looking at the shapes of things and the detail and design, and kind of estimating the age on those types of things. But I think a lot of it too is, there's so much stuff out there, so much material culture, and so much that's been created, mass produced in the United States or imported to the United States, that it's really hard to find, because let's face it, a lot of these things, and I think I was talking on Quarter Hoarder here last week about suspender buckles. You don't go into a museum and see suspender buckles because they're all in the ground. These were just the normal items that everybody had that people didn't give a second thought to. And so, to find something like that on an original garment is like super, super scarce. So if you were just to have a suspender buckle and be like, "What's this?" and to not have any access to patents or any prior knowledge or nothing in the relic community and no books that ever mentioned it, then you would think, "Well, gosh, I have no idea what that is." Nobody knows what that is, because you can't find one still attached. It's so rare to find one still attached to a garment. So I have a hunch that it's probably a similar way with this. My hunch is that this is some sort of ladies' waist buckle, just because the design, is there, and it tells me that that was meant to be seen. The general shield shape, it's kind of like, it's like a shield. It's like a double shield, right? And I've got some of these ladies' waist buckles in my book that have, like if you were to take the lobes off of either side and the lobes off the bottom, then you'd have a shield. And that kind of shield shape, is kind of like to weave the fabric through as a tensioner, would work for that application. It wouldn't have to be a two-piece buckle or anything. And there's similar ones that had a swiveling bar, that were made with little flanges on the back that held the swiveling bar and the two tines, as opposed to those slots. So that's my hunch as to what that is, and in which case it would be like 1840s, 50s, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, the turkey neck on the eagle is the one thing that was kind of different, because like the 1850s and 60s, that became more of a less defined turn of the eagle's head. I don't know how to explain it. I call it the turkey neck is what I call it. But
I can see that too. It's like but the back of the seated quarter, didn't have that long of a neck and so forth. I can definitely see that. And one of the things that's weird about relics like this, when you see an eagle, is that we're dealing with a non-standard, non-regulation, non-U.S. eagle here. I mean, this is a patriotic motif, right? But it's not a U.S. government. It's like when you see a flag that's like printed on something. And like somebody was talking about like counting stars on flags from an item that was made around 1900. And I'm like,
right.
Well, you can't do that though, because it's not an insignia. So it's just a design that everybody knows that that's a flag, so it can have how many stars fit, right? So it may be the type of thing where just the die sinker was like, got carried away with the neck here. It's fascinating. Like, you never know.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. The other thing is that, and we were talking a little bit about, buckle design and really trying to pinpoint, I don't know, range of wealth of the person that wore it, or how it was used, whether it was more utility than it was fashion. And then, of course, of over the years, the difference in buckles from different countries and the way they were manufactured and stuff. It's really not an easy thing to positively always identify an old buckle.
Yeah. Yeah. So many variables, just like everything we do. It's just like, it's insanity to try to tease it all out.
Let's see, get that one back up here. Also, one more time, guys. Going to go ahead and drop the QR code for the book today. Once again, I'm purchasing shipping. Johnny Smallpepper is donating a second book tonight, so no matter what, everything's squared away. And where that digging it back Charlie's at, I'm gonna have to get on him about getting in here and getting his order tonight, because I gotta pay my debt to him. I owe him a gift card for members night, so he's gonna have to get in here and get his stuff ordered. I'm gonna yell at him really quick while we're sitting here. But what as far as lead and bullets go, as far as the different types, how big is your collection of Civil War bullets? And tell me something I don't know about artillery and stuff back in the day. Something that may be little known, maybe before these bullets were made. I don't know. Come up with something. Give me a fact that I might not know.
Okay. So I have two interesting facts. One is, the logistical nightmare that the Civil War presented, because it was in a time when ammunition was so unstandardized. I mean, you had people that were converting flintlocks into percussion cap. You had people who were firing round ball muskets. You had people who had bullets, for rifled muskets. You had people that had hundreds and hundreds of different types of ammunition, from pistols to the very latest Spencer repeater and things like that. And so it's like all these carbines. And, if you look through the McKee and Mason book, which is kind of the metal detecting bullet Bible for every round that has ever been made or found, it boggles the mind, because you're like, you look through it and you're like, oh, I'm here to ID something. But then you take a step back, and this is the part that really gets me. How in the world did they supply all of these? I mean, how in the world, to troops that were fighting across a vast area of the country, how in the world did they supply the cartridges needed for all of these different weapons? I mean, some of them were cartridges, some of them were, like pistol bullets and so forth. And, obviously some of these things were cast on site in molds. But for the ones that weren't, it blows my mind to think what a logistical nightmare that would have been. How many of these weapons would have not been serviceable in a pinch because they didn't have what they needed in terms of projectiles? It blows my mind. The other thing that I would add is that a lot of people fail to recognize pinfire ammunition, which is kind of a precursor to the center fires that we see. There was some rim fires that we see later on in the 1800s, but the pin fires are early, and they literally have a little pin that comes out of the side of the cartridge. And so when you find those, you've got a pretty scarce early bullet. Are they worth amazing amounts of money? No, but I always think they're interesting because they're a transitional bullet there that didn't last very long. People found a better way to do it, with a center fire cartridge, like a shotgun head stamp and so forth, like we have today.
Do you ever get much opportunity to research and take trips to go metal detecting, or do you just kind of hang out in your own area?
Well, I do a fair amount of driving. I've got about 80,000 acres of permissions across 5 different parishes. Our parishes down here are like counties elsewhere. So I do a ton of driving, and part of that is because I'm always after specific spots that I found in my research. So I will get into a certain area and start door knocking and asking permission and trying to narrow down where something is. And that generally results in more permissions. So I end up with a pocket of permissions, that's however many acres wide and long, usually consecutive properties, because I'm after one specific thing. I think I won't go after it unless I have a pretty darn good idea of where it is, because I don't like to spend all my time driving instead of digging. So.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I got into the habit of specifically researching areas and then going there to dig. And it's funny that, the ground is different everywhere. And it just amazes me, what you can find by doing research and so on and so forth. You did dedicate some time to bottles, marbles, beads. I've never really found a whole lot of beads. Where did that section kind of come from in your book?
The beads, yeah. I really didn't find any beads until I came down here, and then I started finding beads that had washed out from the rains. Kind of like Native American artifact hunters will find points that are washed out after plow. It's a similar thing down here, but you just really have to keep a sharp eye for them because the things are so tiny. But what helps us down here is that we got a lot of fine silt. So it's not like you're looking through rocks and shell and all kinds of stuff that you would have elsewhere, perhaps. So I started getting interested in the beads, and then I realized that I had to write a section on beads. So I had to learn all about beads, in order to write that, which was a chore, but I learned a lot about it, in the process. And what I learned that's important for folks who find beads is there in the book.
Yeah, just kind of going through all of that stuff. Transition, and we were talking about the transition of keys and getting to the modern keys, and then locks. Old padlocks are very intriguing as well. Uh, do you have anything that is a specific favorite as far as like the old locks? I personally like railroad locks. They're really fun to find, and they're usually pretty heavy duty. You got something in that area that you really love?
Yeah, I actually like they're like a little narrow 1880s, 1890s lock, and they're kind of flat. They're kind of square with rounded corners, and they're kind of flat. They usually have a flat shackle at the top. And some people see the ones that have US written on them and think that they're, United States, but they're actually US lock company. But I really like a lot of those because there's a bunch of different varieties of those, and they're just kind of a neat, narrow time period. Some of them are made by various manufacturers, but I just find those things fascinating. And I also like a lot of the early, cast iron smokehouse locks too. I just think those are really cool, but they don't ever survive in really great condition down here, so it's kind of hard to restore those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, I see that you made the chat. The book is $79 for anybody that hasn't remembered. If you scanned over it, Charlie, your cost for the book is $69 because I got the shipping and I got shipped in.
79 plus 10 in shipping. So it's 79 without the shipping, it's 89 with. So
but Charlie has an extra 10 that I owe him this week from a members race. So
great.
If he sends it to you, he's going to send you. You're going to be a little bit light. I just want to make sure that you remember that.
I'll remember that.
Yeah, of course. And you know what? Since it is closing, we've done this. I can't believe that I started early and got through the chat by 9 o'clock, and I haven't gotten through half of what I wanted to, and it's almost 10. I'm going to run this to about 10:15 no later tonight. But what we're going to do right now is we are going to give away the first book. This one will be the Johnny Small Pepper donation. So if you win that, that will also Johnny's going to take care of that through me. So that money will come from me as well, Mr. Plummer. So just keep that in mind.
Great.
So that way that I'm only going to send you one lump sum at the end of it. But everybody needs to know that Johnny Small Pepper donated the book. So we're going to get this over. The giveaway tool is up, and I'm going to drop the thing down here for a minute. We're going to give away the first copy here. So good luck, everybody. Get this thing riding high. I show 33 entries.
That's good odds.
The odds are really nice right now that it's down to 2. And like I said, we only haven't said the word not one time. So there you go. The drawing will happen in exactly 1 minute. So when my clock strikes over, I'm going to roll it off. Good luck, everybody. Please make sure your entries are in, and we're going to roll this thing here really soon. FLX Detectorist, what's up? Haven't seen you in a hot minute. I do see you on TikTok a lot. So good job over there with your live streams. And yes, everybody, please thank Johnny Small Pepper. No better person in this community to hang out with. And just so you guys know, I will be on over there with Johnny more than likely this coming Tuesday. Haven't been on one of his lives in almost probably a year and a half. So get lucky. You might want to stop by and see me over there. It'll be interesting. All right. 30 seconds, and then I'm hitting the button. I'm excited to see who's going to win this bad boy because it is such a great book. There's my other good friend right there, Mr. Tim, Illinois Digger. How you doing, Tim? My friend? Hey, I wanted to tell you that I sent you a message a while back, and and maybe you got a different phone number or you didn't respond to me. So my feelings are absolutely crushed. All right. Good luck, everybody. I would if I had some I got some Carolina Reapers right, but I don't know that that's what this was about. This was going to be probably about a YouTube chat. But here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Good luck. Who's it gonna be? Well, now I'm gonna tell you, Randy, are you still here? First and foremost. Randy Riddle, you got 60 seconds. Na, 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 na.
One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of the people who have bought a book have come back and bought a second or even a third
That's what
copy.
that's what I was going to
helps
ask
me a
because I'm
lot,
not
you
sure.
know. So that's really great to see. It's kind of humbling. So thanks to everybody that's done that.
It's really good karma, right? I mean, you know, somebody that chipped in and got something, and then they win another one. Randy's been very generous on my channel as far as donations go. 30 seconds. But a second copy might make something really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Angie, thank you. Definitely want to thank. You go by Will, right?
William.
Yeah, you go by
Yeah.
William. Yeah, we
Yeah.
want to thank William for being here tonight with us. It's an absolute blast. And Johnny's one of my better friends in here. And thank you for the compliment. Okay. Looks like it's got 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna re-roll this again. I bet Randy's at work. But he's already got a copy, so maybe somebody new. 3, 2, 1, go. Got an extra opportunity. Good luck again. Who's it gonna be? I love it that I see it. Oh, Grandma Kelly.
Oh, great.
Grandma Kelly, you're still here, I hope. I know I saw your name go by in the chat earlier, but I didn't see you chat. Yeah, you got to answer, Miss Patty. That's the whole point. I know you're taggable and still in the chat.
There she is.
There, Miss Grandma Kelly.
Great.
So how this is going to work, Grandma Kelly, I just need you to send your information to William here so that he'll have it, and then the finances will be taken care of, and he will send you a book.
I'm going to drop my email here in the chat, Grandma Kelly, and you can just email me there, buckleboymetaldetecting@gmail.com.
All right. But congratulations. And let me go back and say that there's not many people that is as deserving as Grandma Kelly. She's been a spectacular community member for all of us. I like how we're all intertwined a little bit. If you guys didn't know it, I had a little help for Grandma Kelly when she started out. She was a Monday digger for a good long while. I love the fact that we're such a tight-knit group. It's really nice to see it go to her. So congratulations, Miss Kelly. And we're going to go on for a few more minutes here, and then we'll roll off the other one here shortly. So please hang out if you're interested in winning a book. Also, if you're interested, be sure that you get your order in today if you want the shipping discount. So make sure, Charlie, that you get your order in. You're $20 off, just you, but make sure that happens so that we get that going. Because I do want to pay shipping for several of y'all if I can manage that tonight. So this year took you this book took you how long to write? 4 years?
It took 4 years, but really, I was looking at stuff, identifying stuff all the way back to the TreasureNet days, so back in the early, I guess mid 2000s, and American Relic Hunters forum before that, which was like way back in the dark ages of the internet. So, it's been a lot of walking through museums and looking at fittings and clasps and fixtures and brass hardware on chests of drawers and things like that. Like every every single time I'm in a museum, like I'm not just like reading the stuff about the historical events. I'm like looking at the items and saying, would that have ended up in the ground? So there's a lot of that decades of that in preparation of this book.
Yeah, plenty of intrigue. I vacationed down in your area a few times now, kind of not specifically your area, but close. Have you been through like New Orleans and found any residences or anything to dig there? Because that's probably the most intriguing city in the United States, next to St. Augustine or maybe Savannah, Georgia, as far as the South goes. When I was on vacation down there, I noticed that there was very little ground in the city that you could actually step on grass, but I didn't know if you were able to do any detecting in New Orleans.
Yeah, there are some yards throughout the area, but they're generally small, and there's not a lot of them. What is interesting is when they do tear up ground, because I mean there's an immense amount of history there going back, almost 300 years, and so when anytime ground gets moved, anytime there's any road work done, anytime there's a sidewalk that comes out, that's the type of spots that you want to get in.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you. Charlie paid in full so that if anybody else needs a discount, they can hit me up for it. So I appreciate you, Charlie, and I know William does too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I spent some time there, and then the other thing, and you might know some of the history, but we went and stayed at Dauphine Island and in Alabama, which is just a little bit east of you. And then I went out there and I got to go to those two forts right there and I got to, go and examine those and walk around those areas. Those two forts played, I think they used that to send bombs out at French ships, if I'm not mistaken, that were coming in. And I don't know all the details of it, but I can't think of the name of both of them because Gaines is one of them, and I can't remember the other one that's in Alabama as well. Those things were built to last. Those forts were built I got some amazing pictures somewhere, and then I'll share them probably at another time. But I guess those played an integral part in the War of 1812. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I don't know as much about those over there on that side of the over in the next state over, but the forts along the Mississippi here in Louisiana were incredibly important, and to the point that when Farragut basically sailed past them, and gained access to the Mississippi, that was really a pivotal point in the Civil War. And of course, then taking New Orleans, taking Baton Rouge, sailing on up towards Vicksburg. But there's a tremendous amount of history, along these waterways, and that's really true in every state. And I think I said so in the book as well, maybe in the chapter about coins and talking about the discrepancies between numbers of copper coins versus numbers of silver coins found. I think that a lot of that's related to trade, and a lot of that's related to affluence along those waterways, because people had easy access to be able to mass produce crops and other items, and to take those out and ship them out in the world. Because with crops and goods that were perishable, they were only as good as you couldn't make more than you needed, right? So you couldn't sell them before they spoiled. So you had to have access to transportation on a waterway instead of over a land route because of the time involved. And the same thing was true with manufacturing and stuff like that. Those were all in port cities, so that people could get those goods out that they had made with ease.
Yeah. So, and talking about that a little bit more is that, and I think it was this last year that we had a tremendous water level decrease in the Mississippi, and a lot of things were uncovered along the riverbanks down there. Did you get a chance I've never seen you do riverbank hunting. Have you gotten any? Did you get any opportunity when the Mississippi was down to
I
do any of
wanted
that?
to, but I didn't. I didn't do it here a while back. We had a really dry summer, and it was so crazy low, and I did not get a chance to do that. Unfortunately, I wished I had.
Angie from Angie and Rick wants to know if you're going to be going to Florida Hunt 11.
I'm a little bit of a recluse when it comes to organized hunts, so probably not. But I'll be there in spirit.
Be there in spirit, absolutely. That's another thing there altogether. Yeah, guys, we'll be talking about Florida Hunt 11 coming up here in the next couple weeks. I'm going to do some promotion for Greg and help him out a little bit to put that together just a little bit harder. Christmas is going to be nice around here. Working on a couple of things for Christmas, so I will be in here Christmas night as well, just so everybody has a place to hang out and maybe get a last-second gift, something really special. I do have a metal detector that's going out that night for you all that was donated by B. Higgles, and I'm working on another one from I wouldn't call them a sponsor, but I would call them somebody that's a channel supporter. So keep that in mind as we go forward. I want to go ahead and draw this last winner because I know not everybody stays up as late as I do, because I'll be up until probably 2 o'clock in the morning playing some video games tonight if it works out right. But I'm going to go ahead and get it loaded up, get it ready to draw out for another winner. And then we'll say we'll have a little bit more of a conversation, then we'll say goodbye. But if you guys have enjoyed having William on here, if you guys leave some niceties in the chat, maybe he'll come back in after Christmas in January, because I still have a whole other line or list of things that I wanted to talk about today, but the time just didn't really allow for it the way things went. So if you'd like to see him back, and there you go. You get a nice autograph on every copy of the book, just so you know. I'll just show you guys right there. It's signed right, y'all. This is the copy that I'm sending out is not this one. It's still in the box. I never broke it out, so I never touched it. But this next one that's going out will be mailed from me and not Mr. Plummer. So let's get that thing drawn out and let's get another winner.
Awesome.
A lot of fun.
Good luck, everybody.
Let's see. I can't believe how fast time goes when just.
Oh, wow. Look.
What's that?
They're digging it back.
Oh, my screen's a little wonky at the moment. Let me get that up here. Grandma Kelly's still up.
Wow.
Charlie. Run one. Okay, so we're going to run 2 more books. There we go. Charlie, thank you for supporting Mr. Plummer here. And so this one will be coming. The third one will be coming for him as well. But I'll be sending over the money. So we got to get this written down. So right now, I'm sending you money for 2 books, plus anybody else's shipping that orders tonight other than Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you, brother. And before I roll this out, I wanted to shout out somebody really quick. Mr. Patrick is a friend of mine here. Here I Am. Make Stupid People Famous is his YouTube channel. Won the detector in here the other week, and he's going to start making videos. So if anybody would like to go over and show him some support for his channel, I would greatly appreciate it. He's been very gracious in winning, and nice shout outs, done some videos. So I would appreciate if anybody goes over there and checks him out, as he got his Find X Pro and he's going out and hunting. He's been very gracious to be thankful for it. So I would like to send some folks over there to see him. Yeah, Relic. He could sell a bunch of books at Dig Stock, but I don't think he wants to go.
Yeah, yeah, it's all at cost and time, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can afford the cost and time away, you know? Like, I wish I was retired, then I would be there, right? You know? Um,
Retirement sounds like such a good time because I know I'd get to dig a lot more.
oh, I know, I just think about it all the time.
You know, I just to get I get on my 401k and I look at my investments once a month, and I've already got a number set that I can semi-retire, and just semi-retire is perfect. Because that just gives me more time to do what I want, and I keep watching those numbers. Sometimes they grow. COVID really effed my life up as far as my stocks and stuff like that went, but that's another story for another day. It's just now recovering from it. So,
The
yay.
only thing that benefited me during COVID was the time to dig, you know? Like, I dug so much in 2020, it's just like, and I made some great finds, but it was because of the time spent, you know?
Yeah, that was the bad thing is that I work at a giant hotel and casino, and I ended up before COVID was over and before we could reopen. It ended like a never-ending episode of The Shining. I was wandering around the place by myself on a Razor scooter. It was so big doing checks because they laid off almost all of us,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I ended up talking to ducks sitting out in the backyard because I had nobody to talk to. I didn't realize how bad it was to be by myself.
Wow.
All right,
Wow.
good luck, folks. I'm gonna draw this thing out here in 2 seconds. Yep, actually, time again. We're gonna draw two this time. So everybody, good luck. I hope you win. This one's coming from me, and here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Who's it gonna be? Mainly Dirk
Yay,
Fisher.
mainly.
Listen, Rob was talking that he wanted one,
Rob
and
said he
guess
wanted
what?
it. Yeah.
Congratulations, Rob. You have you're right there at 10 or at 10:16. Brother, I will get this thing lined up and mailed out to you. So congratulations, Rob. I know you're still here because you just chatted, and I cannot believe that you won because of how much you said you wanted it. Usually that's the people that lose. All right, one more time. This one's coming from Buckleboy on my dime, or actually on Charlie's dime. Thank you, Charlie, digging it back. Thank you, Charlie. 3, 2, 1. Who's it going to be? Happy Bears. Are you still here, Happy Bears? We're getting ready. I'm going to set the clock up. We'll start the clock here soon. I'll let my phone close, so you got an extra second or two.
Yeah, yeah. Rob said he used to help me with gas money. Yeah, Rob was a channel member of mine on my channel for quite a long time, and I really appreciated that, Rob. Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, clock is started. Oh, he's right there.
Great.
By the time I found the clock, so everybody needs to get your information over to William. Charlie's already ordered, so Rob, I'm taking care of. Let's see, and Grandma Kelly, and Happy Bears, you need to get your information over to William. Please email him. And
I just
that
dropped
is,
my email there.
and yeah, there you go. Anybody that needs to get their information over, the sooner you get it over, the sooner he can get it ready and shipped out. Man, it's an absolutely cool time tonight. Charlie, Johnny Small Pepper, you guys are the absolute best. I definitely appreciate you guys making it great. William, if anybody else ordered tonight, hang out for just a second when we close the stream down, and we'll chit chat about a few things.
Sounds
But
great.
everybody that came in tonight to support Buckleboy. I appreciate it. He put a lot of love and effort into this book, and it's been a pleasure to have you. I think we want to have you back. So I think I'm going to try to set up a day in January. Maybe we can do this again a little bit and see. I got some more stuff that my brain hit today that I want to talk about. If you'd like to come back sometime, if you don't have the time, that's cool. But
happy
if you
to.
do, we will do it. But everybody that's been in the chat tonight, I want to tell you guys I have a happy holidays. I will be here on Christmas, but I hope to see you guys soon. And if you didn't buy a book tonight, shame on you. But I hope you buy one before Christmas, because we may never see them again. Once these are gone, they may have value, because there's some books out there in the community that have disappeared and you can't find unless you want to pay a couple $100 for them. So that being said, good night, everybody. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks.
Oh, shoot. The wrong outro's up. I'm sorry. I forgot. It's my. Oh, no.